Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody to the MCE Executive Committee meeting Monday, April 6, 2026. It is exactly 12 o'clock. And we'd like to get rolling. Madam Clerk, will you take a roll call vote, please?
Can we pull up the tracker, please? Thank you. Belvedere,
Present.
Benicia, Concord,
Here.
Contra Costa County. Fairfax,
Here.
Larkspur,
Present.
Mill Valley,
Here.
City of Napa,
Here.
Pinole, San Rafael,
Here.
Walnut Creek.
I'm here, and Contra Costa's here too. She just didn't turn her mic on.
Great, thank you. Quorum established.
Okay, thank you. Before we do board announcements, I'd like to recommend that we make one change to the agenda, and that is remove C2, the draft board agenda for 4/16 to after the closed session. Would somebody like to make a motion to that effect?
I'll move to do that. The Director Darling.
Second Wilkins.
Okay, I heard Darling, and then I heard Lawrence Galati and Nakamura, so you choose.
Lawrence Galani, go ahead. Take it.
Okay, and then I think we need a roll call vote on that, please.
Belvedere,
Yes.
Concord,
Yes.
Contra Costa County,
Yes.
Fairfax,
Yes.
Larkspur,
Yes.
Mill Valley,
Yes.
City of Napa,
Yes.
San Rafael,
Yes.
Walnut Creek.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone in San Rafael have a board announcement? See none. Anyone in Concord have a board announcement? I see heads saying no, and Napa. No. All right, let's move on to public open time. I see one member of the public here, a visiting board member. Okay, Concord, any members of the public wishing to speak?
There are no members of the public here in Concord.
And Director Painter, do we see anyone in Napa wishing to speak?
No members of the public in Napa.
Okay, and let's go to Zoom. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone on Zoom?
I see no raised hands, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to a report from our Chief Executive Officer, Don Weiss. Thank you, Don. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just have two quick items today. First, I wanted to give an update on MCE's Supplier Diversity Report, which MCE submits annually to the CPUC to track our spending with diverse businesses, including those owned by women, minorities, LGBTQ individuals, veterans, and people with disabilities. In 2025, MCE spent over $19 million with diverse, small, and local businesses. And you all should have the report in your email box. Feel free to let us know if you haven't seen it yet, but it's filled with a lot of helpful information about the impact MCE is having across our service area. And then next, just a site visit reminder. We have scheduled our field trip to visit the 80 megawatt wind facility that's currently under construction for MCE in Tracy, Alameda County, to Wednesday, May 6th. So we hope that many of you can join us. This is a great opportunity to see a large-scale renewable project up close and learn more about how these projects are developed and integrated into California's energy system. If you haven't had a chance to stand near one of these very large wind turbines, you're really in for a treat. It's very awe-inspiring, and I hope that many of you can attend. So please RSVP via email if you'd like to join. And that's it for my report.
Thank you. Does anyone in Concord have any questions for our CEO? Seeing none, Director Painter, do you have any questions for our CEO on her report? Seeing none, anyone in San Rafael have any questions on the CEO report? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom have a question on, or I mean, comment on the CEO report?
I see no raised hands, Chair.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the consent calendar. And we've already removed C2 for after the closed session, so we only have one item on the minutes. Do any board members in San Rafael have a question on the minutes? Anyone in Concord? Anyone in Napa? No. All right, bringing you back. Do we have any public comment on the consent calendar? Just the minutes? I know we don't have any in San Rafael, none in Concord, none in Napa. Do we have anyone on Zoom?
No raised hands, Chair.
Okay, I would entertain a motion for approval of the consent calendar.
So I'll move the consent calendar. This is Llorens Gulari.
I'll second. This is Director Scales Preston.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you take a roll call, please?
And just for clarification, we've got the consent calendar is just the item C1 as
Yes.
we've moved the other item. Thank you.
Belvedere,
Yes.
Concord,
Yes.
Contra Costa County,
Yes.
Fairfax,
Yes.
Larkspur,
Yes.
Mill Valley,
Yes.
City of Napa,
Yes.
San Rafael,
Yes.
Walnut Creek.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, great. Let's move on to item 6, proposed master scheduling coordinator services agreement with customized energy solutions for CAISO scheduling services. And I don't know who's doing the staff report. Is this CB Hall? Who's here in San Rafael?
Good afternoon, everyone.
You might need to speak a little closer to your mic.
Okay.
You're a little quiet.
Is this okay? Can you hear okay? Hopefully.
We can hear everyone okay in Concord and Napa?
We can hear you here in Concord. Thank you.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is CB Hall. I'm on the Power Resources team, and we are now going to turn our attention to a proposed agreement with Customized Energy Solutions. That's the name of the firm, also known as CES. And the agreement is for CAISO scheduling services. So one reminder, the CAISO is the California Independent System Operator, as many of you know, and that is our grid operator. And it uses wholesale markets to balance power demand with power supply. And so it is both a grid operator and a market operator. And MCE is an active participant in these markets, which are day ahead in real time. Okay, with that reminder, we just have a couple objectives with these slides today. The first is to give you all some background on CAISO scheduling services. And the second is to propose this agreement with CES. Okay, good. Is the, okay? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. So we'll go to the first background slide, please. Great. So this slide is really about terminology. And as you'll see on the slide here, MCE is a certified CAISO scheduling coordinator. And what that means is we directly participate in CAISO markets. So for example, we submit load bids, supply offers, resource outages, et cetera. And we directly settle with the CAISO. However, on a day-to-day basis, we need help with this important responsibility, so we use external vendors. And these vendors provide what we call CAISO scheduling services. And the most important of these vendors is our scheduling agent, and that is Z Global. And we've worked with Z Global for many years. However, our current contract with Z Global ends in March 2027. So just to recap, we're a certified scheduling coordinator, but we use scheduling service providers on a day-to-day basis to help us. And our agent is very important. So just to give you a taste of what this day-to-day work entails, we're going to go to the next slide, please. Okay, great. So this slide, it shows the key functions of CAISO scheduling services, what we also refer to as market operations. And so this world of market operations, it really begins in the months ahead of when the power flows and continues into the day ahead in real time when power is actually flowing, and then beyond into the months after power flow. And so what I'm going to do right now is just briefly kind of blitz through these three categories of functions here. I wish we could spend more time, but this is just to give you a taste of some of this key market operations work. So in the first category, in the months before power flow, our work includes helping preparing for new resources to come online. That's one thing. Also, showing to both the CAISO and the CPUC that we have met our resource adequacy obligations, submitting planned outages for specific generators who may need to do maintenance, portfolio management activities, and then hedging, including obtaining congestion revenue rights, which hedge our congestion risk. In the day ahead in real time, our work includes forecasting MCE's load, supply optimization, which is really using software to generate bids for our energy storage resources, submitting CAISO load and supply offers into the day ahead in real time markets, intertie tagging for any power that we import into CAISO from outside the grid, and then submitting forced outages for generating resources as needed. And then in the months after, we look at how accurate our load forecast actually was, and we can make updates to the models accordingly. We monitor the performance of our generating resources. And one thing we do is ensure that that performance meets the expectations that are spelled out in our contracts. We directly settle with the CAISO. We directly settle with our counterparties, what we refer to as bilateral settlements. And then we also have a whole suite of compliance reporting. So that is kind of the world of market operations. We rely pretty heavily on Z Global for a lot of this work. Again, they are our scheduling agent, and again, their contract expires in March 2027. So with that, we last summer looked at launching an RFO, request for offers, so that we could get a better understanding of all the different scheduling service providers out there and potentially explore transitioning to a new agent. So with that, I would like to turn your attention now to the RFO that we did. Okay, great. So on this slide, you can see the timeline of that RFO. We launched it in August last year. We received submissions in early September. We then spent the fall evaluating those submissions. And then we ultimately came back to the technical committee last month to present a recommendation to move to a new scheduling agent, which is called Customized Energy Solutions. And now we are here today with the actual contract, with the actual proposed contract for your consideration and approval. And if that contract is approved, we would start with CES on August 1st, 2026. But the scope would be limited to 2 functions for the first 6 months. And then in February 2027, they would really take over as our scheduling agent. So that would be the big month where they would really be 1 month of heavy overlap with Z Global in February. And then in March 2027, we would still have Z Global under contract as the final month in case there are any remaining needs. And one thing I just want to mention in terms of the timeline here, one of the reasons it was important for us to kind of get ahead of this well in advance, there's actually a few different reasons. First, we wanted to be able to scope out scope and budget and make sure that we got that budget reflected in all the, got the costs reflected in the budget that went to the board in March. And that was important to us that we got ahead of that. Second, we also had a deadline to notify our current vendors. So it was important that we got ahead of that. And then finally, there's a lot of operational planning that has to be done with these types of contracts. So that's the reason why we want this contract executed now, well in advance, so that we can plan, again, on the operations and on budgeting as well. Okay. So if we can go to the next slide, please. All right, so what are we proposing? We're proposing an agreement, again, with CES. So who is CES? Customized Energy Solutions. They're a well-known entity. They've been around more than 25 years. They are headquartered in Philly with 360 staff, and they are active across all of the North American ISOs. In California, they're headquartered up in Folsom, which is where the CAISO is also located. And they have significant experience with CAISO markets and CAISO rules. And the last thing I'll just say about CES, they also currently are the scheduling agent for Peninsula Clean Energy, who made the switch from Z Global over to CES in 2024. So the scope of this proposed agreement, there's a lot in it, but just to summarize there, I guess there are four categories, if you will, of work that CES would be doing for us. The first is forecasting our load. The second is storage bidding optimization. So that is using software to derive bids for our energy storage resources, and then those bids are subsequently submitted into CAISO day-ahead and real-time markets. The third is load and resource scheduling. So all of our load and all of our supply, actually bidding and scheduling it into those day-ahead and real-time markets. 4 is settlements and reporting, and that includes CAISO settlements as well as assistance with bilateral settlements. And then 5 is portfolio management and hedging, including congestion hedging. 6 is helping prepare for new resources to come online. And then 7 is scheduling MCE's virtual power plant resources as they ramp up. So that's the scope, the proposed scope. Let's now take a look at costs. Okay, so the total expected cost over 3.5 years, so that's August 2026 through January 2030, the expected cost is $3.7 million. You'll also see in the contract that we have a not to exceed amount of $3.9 million, because there is some uncertainty around when resources come online. We also have some optional functions. So and also there's also some uncertainty around what inflation will be and how that drives the unit costs. But the expected cost is $3.7 million. And I will also say that of this $3.7 million, the amount that is incremental to what we would be spending if we continued with our current vendors over this 3.5-year period is $475,000. So that's the incremental gross cost. But we expect net savings and, very importantly, less risk, driven by optimized load resource scheduling, hedging, and portfolio management. And then you might also be wondering, of this $475,000 incremental gross cost, how much of that will be incurred in this current fiscal year? And the answer to that is $255,000. And that all of this has been baked into the budget that was approved already by the board in March. Okay, so that takes care of costs. If we can go to the last slide, please. So our recommendation is for the executive committee to approve this proposed first agreement with Customized Energy Solutions for CAISO scheduling services. And just to conclude here, we are making this recommendation for the following reasons: high quality scheduling, accurate settlements, and clear reporting, which will really help us in our portfolio management. Energy storage bidding software and expertise. This is important. Right now we have 152 megawatts of storage in our portfolio. That's what we have today. We will have 660 megawatts of storage within the next, we're going from 152 to 660 in 2 years. So that's a big ramp up in our storage in our portfolio, and all of that comes with bidding complexity, and you need this software. We have a vendor right now that performs that function, but what we can do here is bring it all under one roof, which is extremely helpful, and it's more efficient to have one team, frankly, that can do that. So the energy storage bidding is definitely helpful. The portfolio management and congestion hedging is also really helpful. We have a renewables heavy portfolio. We've dealt with quite a bit of congestion in the past. We do need help on congestion revenue rights. So that's also helpful. The load forecasting will help, again, consolidate our number of vendors. And then CES also has background with demand response, which is the participation model that our VPP resources will use. And then ultimately, they have a really deep bench and strong understanding of CAISO rules. So this is why we are recommending CES. And we'd love to take questions.
I'll start in Concord first. Are there questions in Concord of staff? Director Darling?
Oops, sorry. Turned it on and turned it off. I just was wondering, will the work that CES is doing help us with the switch to the 24/7 monitoring of the, I have Japan brain, I can't think of the word for it, for the emissions tracking too? That makes sense?
Yes. I mean, there's, I think on that front, there's a forward-looking and then there's a backward-looking. On a forward-looking basis, we can definitely work with them because we've talked about this a little bit as a team, but like when you're bidding and scheduling in your resources into CAISO, one of the things that is done today is often resources are bid in a way that is they're bid in isolation to some extent. But if we move to a paradigm where the amount of storage that's clearing the market in tandem with your renewables at the same time, if that becomes a driving force and you have to look portfolio wide, we have talked to CES and they've indicated they can help us with that so that we can end up ensuring that storage is charging when our renewables are generating, which is important because it helps with matching supply with our overall demand, inclusive of that charging demand. So there's a nuance there, but so that's the forward-looking piece. On the backward-looking piece, they can definitely also help with helping us report out on what we're looking like on an hourly basis. So.
Right. And I think, this is Barbara, I think my recollection from the staff report is that's one of the advantages of this company, that they can help us with a 24/7. Is Vicken in Concord as well?
Yes, I am.
Did you want to add anything to that? Thank you, CB. Did you
Sure.
want to add?
Yeah, short answer is yes, Director Darling. And CB did a wonderful job at explaining things. I want to give a very maybe basic, crude example. If MCE was a person and we took that procurement person's picture 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we would not be able to recognize that person compared to today. So we have multi-billion-dollar portfolio that has supply and demand. We have a significantly more complicated California ISO market. In the forward market, they had hour ahead and even active hour markets with different types of energy procurements, which makes our procurement team does a horrendous job of completing procurement contracts that it could take between 3 to 6 months to negotiate, while it may have taken less than a month to do so many years ago. So we do need significant bench strength with the service provider. When it starts with our footprint of 4-county region, we are actually significantly different the way weather impacts the 4 counties. We used to have, like 10, 12 years ago, ISO used to have 3 zones. Now it has more than 3,000 pricing nodes that needs to be modeled or weather impacted. Concord itself is one of the high peak areas. In Marin, we have several others too. So a staff does need this advanced software and experience-based capability to be able for us to efficiently work in the new market rules, in the forward and active hour, and also the compliance efforts that we are under from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission that has approved ISO markets that we need to comply with. And Power Resources and MCE Legal has a lot of work in that as well to show compliance. So our total different forms of energy package that we have, including short-term deals, the way resources are bid, like CB did a wonderful job, and also being able to be much more active in the active hour will be significantly helpful from this service provider.
Great.
So
And
highly recommended.
Thank
thanks.
you.
And very heads up on your part to get ahead of the procurement and do the competitive bidding. So
Thank-
thank you.
Thank you. Other questions in Concord?
Yes, this is Director Nakamura. I think I saw already that it has been to TechCom. And so TechCom has already heard about this and is on board there.
CB, you might want to say yes, because they can't all see you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Chair, may I clarify? CB did the fantastic presentation and recommended this entity, but the actual contract did not make it to TechCom. The contract is before you today.
Right,
Just wanted to
but they
clarify that.
heard a presentation.
Correct.
Okay, so is that clear, Director Nakamura?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that TechCom had a chance to ask all their questions, and now that it's coming to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions in Concord? Any questions, Director Painter in Napa?
Yeah, thanks. My one question is about what we are looking at for the overall net savings, and certainly less risk is good, so I won't ask questions there. But I'm curious if you had a chance to perhaps talk to Peninsula Clean Energy, who's been using them for 2 years, to see, what have they experienced overall net savings, and have we incorporated that into our budget as well, or is it sort of a wait and see once we get started?
We have not, the short answer, thank you for the question. The short answer is we have not incorporated the net savings into our budget. We only took into account the cost, essentially. So this cost is fully reflected in the budget that was approved. We believe, though, that there will be net savings. We have not quantified that. But I will say, I think maybe Dawn can also talk about this, because I think she also had a talk with Peninsula.
Yeah, I think Dawn, would you like to mention
Yeah,
something?
thank you. I will add that I spoke to senior leadership at Peninsula Clean Energy about their experience working with CES, and they had a very strong recommendation for the team, and particularly noted the comprehensive suite of services that are being provided to them in a in a coordinated fashion, which made things a lot simpler for them than their prior experience. So that feedback went into our thinking as we were evaluating bids. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Dawn.
Yeah,
Director
and
Painter?
I mean, I think it is going to be more March 2027 and beyond if we're going to really look at cost savings, because that's when their services are really going to start in earnest. But it's something to think about for next year's budget.
Thank you. Moving on to San Rafael, do we have, I think Director Perret had his hand up.
Thanks, CB. A couple of questions. So for the scope with the new firm, is the former firm working on a virtual power plant, or is that something that's going to be new?
The Z Global?
Mm-hmm.
Z Global is working with our team right now to gear up for the virtual power plant. Yes. I'm not the best person to talk about that, but yeah, they are working right now to prepare.
So that's not something that's going to be a new addition for the.
It's right. It's not really a new addition, but I think what I see is that if this contract is approved, CES would be the one to really be there when we really ramp up. Because right now we're very small scale still on the VPP, is my understanding. Yeah.
Great. And then does this lock us into a 3-year contract?
Yes, it locks us through January 2030.
Okay.
And by the way, sorry,
Yeah.
so I'll just to elaborate a little bit. The reason you might wonder, well, why January 2030 is because we initially were starting with February 2027, and then the 3-year term went through January 2030. But then we decided we thought it'd be a good idea to add on a couple early start functions. Mm-hmm. So we kind of extended the term by 6 months. We added on 6 months early. Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious on the timing. I imagine they're incorporating various AI pieces into the monitoring and tracking with CAISO, and just thinking, I imagine there'll be new companies going into this space in the coming years. So
that's a great question, actually. I mean, I think their Grid Boost software, which produces the energy storage bids, I think that's got some AI engine in there. But some of the other functions under market operations could probably benefit. And I'd have to look at that, because that's a really interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think 3 years probably makes sense, but I think as we go through the 3 years, thinking about, in 3 years, right, does it make sense for MCE to bring any of these capabilities in-house, or are there other new firms, that have sprung up in the meantime? Or if these guys are doing everything we want and more, right, we keep with them, but using the 3 years to kind of assess. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Lawrence Colati.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. And I'm also very happy that we went to look at different firms as well. My question is around the termination agreement notice is 1 year. Is that industry standards, or it seems like a long time? But
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. And that is the same termination timeframe that we have in our existing agreement with Z Global. This is based on the needs that we've had from the Power Resources team, taking on a new scheduling coordinator. As CB indicated, there's a ramp up phase. So getting that kind of termination notice allows both MCE to go out and find another scheduling coordinator should we need to do so, and allows that kind of time so that we can off ramp one and onload another. So it is strategically placed so that we can be better set if we need to change providers.
okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Wilkinson?
CB, thank you for the presentation. It's very interesting. I had a couple of questions. The first was actually related to the staff report, where you said that we're ramping up from 152 to 664 megawatts. Does that include the Corby project, or are you putting that on the side for now?
That does include Corby.
And how much are you getting out of Corby of that number?
100.
100 megawatts.
Yep.
Okay, it's good to know. And then the other question I had was, we're only talking about the supply that we schedule directly, so this doesn't include any of the hedges or the attribute purchases. That's something entirely separate.
With the one thing is with the You're absolutely right with the index plus. It's the seller who's scheduling in. So yeah, absolutely. With the hedges, it's a little trickier because the suppliers are essentially passing the CAISO revenue to us through an interscheduling coordinator trade.
Right.
And so we have to match that IST. So there is work on our side. Like both parties have to match essentially. So there is.
But we're not, because that's mostly system power, natural gas, whatever, but we don't schedule that directly. They do, but there's a pass through somehow.
Exactly. They do, but we have to match it.
Okay.
There's like a matching mechanism. It's kind of just administrative, if you will. But
Okay. So my question there was really whether this new software, which looks very sophisticated, is it going to help you with those, even though they're sort of on the side? Is that going to help you with optimization in that area as well?
the optimization software, so they can actually, oh, sorry, let me just take a step back. They can provide resource optimization for different types of resources. The one that we are very confident we need is the energy storage software, like the energy storage piece of it, because we know we have a lot of storage and we're ramping up, and we absolutely need that to produce storage bids that we will ultimately submit into day ahead and real-time markets. We could use that. They also have capability to do this for non-storage generating resources as well. They have some optimization functions, and we actually put that in the contract as like an optional. We didn't want to commit to it yet. But so to start out, it's really just the storage part of the bid optimization that we're going to use. And then as we learn more, we might try the non-storage piece as well. I don't know if hopefully that was your question, or maybe I missed it.
No, that was clear enough. It sounds like this is work in progress, and you'll address that as you learn more. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Other questions, Director Andre?
Great. Thank you, CB. I'm curious how we are going to be monitoring the cost savings and also the risk reduction. What metrics are you going to be looking at, and how are we going to ascertain that we're actually getting cost savings out of this agreement? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. To be honest, I don't think we have a full answer on that yet, but maybe a partial answer. One thing that's very clear is the congestion hedging, because there's an annual process that's important for obtaining congestion revenue rights, and you can directly see how many you get out of that process, what the paths are, and then ultimately how they hedge your day ahead congestion risk. So there's pretty clear metrics, if you will, around congestion hedging. And that's one thing that we need help on. So that we will be able to see. Some of the other elements, like less risk, I mean, when I say less risk, that includes the congestion hedging, but it's also just like understanding of market rules, ability to follow the changing rules with new stakeholder processes that come around this. It's a very complicated CAISO tariff, and just having an entity that has a deep bench on that is really helpful.
Okay, thank you. And can you explain, so when we actually procure energy, right, the in-house team does its own analysis. From what I've read in the contracts, like you would procure the energy, and then this group, CES, would schedule the energy into CAISO. Is that the way to be thinking about this? And so what would be the interaction then? Because if you're procuring on the front end and they're scheduling on the other end, what is the interplay, or what sort of information is being exchanged so that you can be making good decisions on the procurement side? Because by the time they're scheduling it, you've already procured the energy at a fixed price, correct?
Yes, exactly. So when we do procurement, not all of the energy that we procure are we the scheduling coordinator for. There's a pretty big chunk that is scheduled in by the seller. So that would be done by the seller, not us. But you're absolutely right. For the portion that is under our control as a scheduling coordinator, yes, we would schedule it in, and CES as our agent would do it on our behalf. And so then I think maybe where you're going is it's important to have an understanding of how it's going to be bid or scheduled into the market. And what that strategy is, so there's a whole conversation that has to happen well in advance, for sure. Is that where you were going? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So I'm assuming the procurement team is going to be having regular dialogue with
absolutely.
CES
100%.
in terms of.
Yeah.
you
Daily.
know,
I mean, to be honest, it's almost daily right now as eGlobal. I mean, it's a very, very close relationship.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we don't have any other directors here. So I'd like to open it up to public comment, and let's start with Concord, although I don't see anyone there.
Yeah, still no members of the public here in Concord. Thank you.
Okay, and I don't see anyone in Napa.
No members of the public here.
Okay, I think we have a couple members of the public, or one board member and one member of the public. Would you mind mentioning your name again? I know we know you, and thank you.
Hey, you can hear me. Great. Alicia Minion. I have a few questions. And okay, so CES, another client is Peninsula Clean Energy, and maybe answer this question. I'm not hearing very well today because I had a cold last week. Anyway, so what are the potential conflicts of interest? Because you have, in terms of, because Peninsula Clean Energy is a competitor. So is there any information that CES is obtaining that could potentially be used in a manner that could harm MCE in any way? And then with regard to the Corby numbers being included and budgeted, so as you know, that as I've said in the past, in my view, MCE's violated their joint powers agreement with regard to Corby. And so I don't think you should budget for that. I don't think that's going to go through. So how does that affect your savings analysis or on this contract if you exclude Corby? And I'm curious too, in terms of all the information that CES will obtain. Again, I just have this kind of general concern. You know, what kind of inside information can they obtain? What controls do you have to ensure that they can't use that information that could harm MCE in any particular way? And then they're using, this is proprietary software that they use. And I'm just curious, what kind of controls in place, what obligations have you placed on CES to tell you when that software experiences some kind of error? And I don't know if they use AI, if there's what kind of types of breaches, what could happen to the data that's maintained in that software? Where are you going to require them to inform you timely if there's some issue with the data? And then the data that Z Global has, is some of that kind of feeding into this new software? What are you going to do to make sure that it's accurate, complete? Thank you.
Okay, any other members of the public here? See none. People on Zoom?
I see no raised hands here.
Okay, bringing it back. This is not an interactive process, so we won't be answering all those questions. And regarding Corby's, as far as I understand, the MC is still in contract with Corby. But I think the question that maybe Dawn would answer, or perhaps UCB, is I don't believe there are potential conflicts between PCE, Peninsula Clean Energy, or MC. Dawn, is that something you would like to address, or legal? Maybe Catalina can answer that.
Yeah, I'm happy to help, and Dawn and CB as well. You know, as we are purchasing power, that is where the competition would lie. We are working with CES. There is a non-disclosure agreement that they are going to sign and have agreed to sign, and that'll be included in the contract as well. So any of our data will be kind of separate and apart to kind of create that wall. So as they are supporting PCE, but in this regard, it's not a competition. They both have, it's a services contract. They are providing services to both entities, and we're not having them do something that would be problematic with what they perform for services with PCE, like going for a product that is available for both entities to take after. They have obligations to serve our portfolio, just like they would have obligations to serve the other portfolio. And CB, I don't know if you want to elaborate on
I don't think
those
we need
obligations.
more elaboration at this point. I think it was really more of a legal issue. And then it's my understanding and looking through the contract that there are a number of controls in that contract. Just like with Z Global, we have controls to make sure that nothing they would do would necessarily harm us. But did you want to speak to that, Catalina?
Yeah, there are various provisions in the contract that could address events of default, non-compliance, the timeliness of them having to inform us if there is a non-compliance. There is obligations on how they treat our data. That also ties to the non-disclosure agreement that they're going to be providing. So I believe there's sufficient provisions in the agreement to support.
Okay, and that, I think you already touched on software errors. If they run into glitches, they still have to inform us. Part of the contract. The contract has a number of controls. Correct. Okay, so I think we've responded to those questions. And I guess now is time. And Dawn, did you want to add anything, or are you good over there?
No.
Okay, thank you. So now I'd like to have someone entertain a motion, and the choice is to approve the proposed first agreement with Customized Energy Solutions for CAISO scheduling services. Did somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, that was Director Perret. Anyone want a second?
I'll second Director Murphy.
Okay, Director Murphy. Madam Clerk, could we take a roll call vote?
Belvedere,
Yes.
Concord,
Yes.
Contra Costa County,
Yes.
Fairfax,
Yes.
Larkspur,
Yes.
Mill Valley,
Yes.
City of Napa,
Yes.
Pinole,
Yes.
San Rafael,
Yes.
Walnut Creek.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you all very much. And now we're moving on to item 7, which is committee and staff matters. I'll first ask if there are staff matters you wish to bring. Anyone? I see nothing. All right, is there any committee matters that anyone would like to bring? I see nobody in San Rafael, and do I see anything in Concord? Vice Chair, do I see anything in Concord? Okay, and
We're good.
Okay, thank you. And Director Painter, any committee member matters you'd like to bring up?
No committee matters. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'd move on to item 8, which is public open time for closed session. I see no one in Concord. I see a couple of members of the public here. Anyone on Zoom?
I see no raised hands, Chair.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to closed session. And I would ask staff and members of the public, including board members who are not part of the XCOM. And just want to remind you, we'll come back after closed session. I don't know how long it will take. And then we'll also take up the draft April 16th board agenda after that, and appreciate everyone's patience. And hopefully you'll find a nice place to wait. Could we take a quick bio break? About 5 minutes. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Chair. It'll take a moment for us to convene the virtual rooms as well.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We're going to reconvene in open session. Do we need another roll call vote?
We should do that. Yeah.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, could you do a roll call vote?
Belvedere.
Sorry, roll call, just period, no vote.
Yes, present.
Thank you. Venetia. Concord.
Here.
Contra Costa County. Fairfax.
Yes.
Larkspur.
Here.
Mill Valley.
Here.
City of Napa. Pinal.
Here.
San Rafael. Walnut Creek.
Here.
Quorum established.
Okay, thank you. And just for closed session, we took no reportable action. We did give direction to staff. So moving forward with the draft board agenda, which was pulled off consent, and that is the draft board agenda for April 16th. And I think, Catalina, did you have something to add to that? A couple of things to add?
Yes. Did board members want to address it first? Or committee members, or would you like me to add the two?
Why don't you just go ahead and then we'll see if people react.
Great. Yes. So before or after this agenda was posted to the packet, staff has identified two additional needs to add to the agenda. One would be a resolution to address our DOE energy storage funding, just to make sure that what the board has approved is in aligned with what the DOE is approving, as there are adjustments that are being made on those projects. And so we'll be bringing an updated resolution for the board to consider. And then we also will be needing a closed session for anticipated litigation. It'll be one case, and we would notice that on the agenda accordingly.
And don't we have another closed session item?
Yes. Would you like to add that, or
yeah,
like my support?
Just go ahead and maybe just mention.
Yes. And so then we'll add another closed session item, which would be a conference with a labor negotiator to discuss public employee performance evaluation.
Okay. And with that, I'll ask Concord, since you guys have been so patient, do you have any comments on the board agenda with those changes made?
I'll move approval.
Okay, well, we may have to do public comment.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
For
Thank
that,
you.
we'll just hold and let's.
Yes, I think we're all happy here.
Okay, well, I love that. And are we all happy in San Rafael? Okay, it looks like we're good. So I would just ask for public comment on the board agenda with those changes as our council. Oh, wait a minute. Is Vice Chair, are you touching the button? No, okay. With the changes that General Counsel Murphy mentioned, is there any public comment on this matter? There's nobody over there. There's no one here other than Stephen Rosenfeld. Did you have public comment on this? No. Okay. Anyone on Zoom?
None online, Chair.
Okay. So with that, Director Murphy made a motion to approve with the changes.
Second.
And we have a second from Director Perret. Roll call vote this time, please, Madam Clerk.
Belvedere.
Yes.
Concord.
Yes.
Fairfax.
Yes.
Larkspur.
Yes.
Mill Valley.
Yes.
Pinal.
Yes.
Walnut Creek.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. And with that, I'd like to adjourn. And I want to thank everyone for their patience. And I did. Okay. You were sleeping, maybe, potentially. I did report out. Thank you. Just want to thank everyone for their patience and hard work. And we really appreciate people staying. And Stephen Rosenfeld, you are hardcore and you will stay to the bitter end. So thank you very much, all. And we are adjourned. And have a great week, everyone.